Welcome. My name is Wanda Rochelle. We are here today on a probate Wednesday talking about how to manage the probate process from another state. Again, my name is Wanda Rochelle and I am a licensed realtor serving Georgia, Florida, and Alabama. And I have a special guest with me on today. My guest is Miss Felicia. How you doing, Felicia?
I'm great. How are you?
Fabulous. Thank you for joining me. And you're my special guest today because I was servicing you as your real estate agent. Your loved one, your dad, actually passed away here in Georgia. And you actually live in Tennessee. And so I know that it's hard enough to already have to deal with probate, but it's even more difficult to deal with it from another state. So
Mhm.
let's go ahead and get started. How did you search for an attorney and a real estate agent in your process?
Well, my search led me, of course, to what everybody goes to, social media, the internet. And
Okay.
so I Googled probate attorney, um, Georgia, came up with a few names. One of the names that I came up with, the attorney had a video of a realtor talking about probate. So I watched the realtor first, which happened to be you. So
Okay.
I met the realtor before I met the probate attorney. So contacted the probate attorney, find out the process of what needs to happen to represent my father's affairs from another state.
Hmm.
Um, the person that I found, they were very knowledgeable, very good at explaining things. Also, for me, I liked things on the internet, forms, things I could read. All that was done, electronically, where I wouldn't have to travel and do so much. So,
Good.
um, going through the process, filling out the paperwork, um, finding two siblings who had to sign paperwork. So we did a lot of things online, signing things, e-signatures, then having to mail things to other people who had to have things notarized and sent back. So time is of the essence in all these things. So that got the ball rolling with starting the probate process.
Okay. Awesome. Which attorney was it?
It was Johnson.
Okay,
Um,
awesome. Attorney, so that's attorney Rhea, for those of you that are watching,
yes,
attorney Rhea and Emil Johnson and their office. I think they have two offices, but they have an office, I believe in Fayetteville, Georgia, as well
Fayetteville, Georgia.
as, yes, and one in Midtown. So those of you that are watching, if you need a great probate estate planning attorney, I definitely recommend them.
Yes.
And you can even search on my page for the interview that I did with uh, Rhea because she gave a wealth of knowledge. So your probate process was it smooth? Was it rocky? What was your perception?
Well, the probate process is time consuming.
Hmm.
So for me, I was thinking that I was going to get this paperwork, have it signed, notarized, and then like the next month, I'd have the documents in hand that I could go forward and take care of my father's business.
Hmm.
Well, I met with the probate attorney, started it in April. The initial, of course, everything costs money, so you have to file paperwork. You have to pay to file paperwork
Hmm.
with the courts. Um, that started in April. I didn't have everything that I needed in hand to take care of this business until September. So from
Okay.
April to September, which legally taking care of somebody's business, that's even paying their electric bill, um, paying their water bill,
Hmm.
um, paying their trash bill, and paying their mortgage. So
Wow.
legally, you can't do those things until you have that document in hand.
Mhm.
So
Legally, even though
legally,
some people still do it, but
yeah,
legally, yes.
legally, So I that made me also think about it. One of the things that I read, um, my dad's Clayton County, how you're not the only one who's lost someone. So there's other people who are doing the very same thing you are. Time is of the essence. People have to pay for funerals. There are people who don't have access to their spouse's accounts. They can't pay their bills until they get this paperwork in hand.
Wow.
So I felt fortunate that um, I had to use my savings to take care of my dad's mortgage from April to September until I could get access to his funds to take care of his mortgage from April to September. So I guess the biggest thing I want to say, there's things that people looking back now, I know that there's things I could do. So when it's my time to leave, my
Mm-hmm.
family doesn't have to scramble and do these things. There's some things that we can do ahead of time. Um, Even your account numbers being written down for whoever remains to have that
Mm-hmm.
information. That person has to scramble, figure all those things out while you wait on the court.
Wow. And
Yeah.
and again, you had to do that from a totally different state.
Different state.
Yes.
Right. And
Yeah.
then, I could Google Tennessee laws, but that's not necessarily the law in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
So, a car that's remaining. What do you do with the person's car? What do you do that with the trash service is different. So
And let me just stop right here when you say what do you do with the person's car, because your father had how many cars?
I, I don't even want to start to count. And all operable, even though they didn't look like operable, all registered with the state of Georgia, all insurance coverage, uh, Mercedes, truck, van. I'm gonna say he had 8 cars, and I may have
That's
lost
crazy.
my count.
That's
I'm
crazy.
a mechanic by trade, so you know, dealing with that. And legally, you have to wait on this document to do all those things.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's my dad, some of the things I knew, I could go online with Georgia Power and pretend I'm Charles to pay his bill.
Right.
Legally, you're not supposed to do that, but you have to
Right.
do these things. So, um,
Yeah. And that makes me think about even when we are setting up accounts like that, we probably should say that I would love to add my daughter as an
yes,
authorized user. That's the
yes,
reason I do these videos,
right,
because people don't understand the struggle that is, that you have to go through when you're in that
mm-hmm.
position. But if we would just take the extra step to have a list of the account numbers in a certain place,
Right,
add your loved one as an authorized user. Felicia, I remember one of my clients, his house was here in Georgia. His loved one lived in Arizona. And when the brother flew to Arizona, he didn't have a key to the house.
oh wow,
He couldn't get in.
in the house, right,
Guess who had a key? Me, the real
oh
estate
wow,
agent.
and he,
And
yeah, I
I
believe that.
happen to have the key because the his brother passed away, and I was in the process of selling his house when his brother passed away. So because I was selling the house, I had a key to the
Key,
house.
wow,
So yeah, we have got to think about
yeah.
the future and have these things in place. So let's see, what is my next
Yeah,
question? Um,
those things, having those things in place does make it a little bit easier for the folks who are still here.
mhm,
And I've done it in my own life, making sure that my bank account has payable upon death. This person can go to the bank when I'm gone and just present their ID and get whatever funds I have. They may
mhm,
need those funds to bury you. They may need those funds to pay your electric bill. They may
mhm,
need those funds to travel to your funeral, but at least
right,
they can have them. Otherwise, they're going to sit there until they find a lawyer, pay a lawyer, get the paperwork, and then they can go and get those funds. It would have been so much easier if we could just wrote that person's name. It
uh-huh,
doesn't mean that person can go to the bank tomorrow and get your money while you're here. They can only get those funds if you are gone with a death certificate.
right. And it's interesting that you said that, because you had savings in place to be able to take care of his housing expenses, and you had money to purchase an attorney, and there are people that don't
Don't.
don't have that.
Well, and then really I didn't have it because I'm a homeowner myself,
Mm-hmm.
and if my air conditioner go out, I'm the maintenance man. I have to get that replaced. So I had the funds, not necessarily for that, but I knew that in the end,
Right. You would get
with
it back.
sale, I could get it back. But I was still on pins and needles to in the end
Right. Right.
because that was funds out of my household, not
Awesome.
but
Yeah. So how soon after your dad passed away did you start the probate process?
I started the probate process. I'm gonna say met with the attorney, started meeting with them in April after I kind of figured out which way to go because I wasn't really sure because that my dad has passed away. He's got a house. It has a mortgage. My first thing was lock the door and walk away. Let whatever happen happen because my dad is gone. But I
Mm-hmm.
know that that's not the way that I have to conduct the business. So after he's funeralized and we've made those arrangements, then we gotta move on. Something's got to take process. So as soon as I could get started with that paperwork, I got started with that paperwork. So I'm gonna say April. He passed in February.
Okay.
Um, and then also like that, start dealing with cars and bills and whatnot. So
Mm-hmm.
time is of the essence. So and I had told you once, you don't have time to grieve your person because you have a job to take care of. You have a mission to take care of.
Right.
So yes, we did the funeral. We did my dad was a veteran. The Georgia National Cemetery with all the veteran salute. But after that, I got to get busy. I got work to do. I got a mission. His
Wow.
business, he's gone, but his business is not gone, and you got to clear the business.
Did your father have a will?
My father did not have a will.
Mm.
He did
Wow.
not have a will. I have two younger brothers. All my life, my dad's always told me, anything happen to you, happen to me, everything go to you. You just go to the bank. Well, that's that old way of talking.
Mm.
It don't work like that. If it's not
Mm.
in writing, it doesn't exist. So you got to get all those things in writing before you can go on with um, paying mortgage, selling the house, and get. I don't want to say disposing of a person's property, but that's pretty much what you're doing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So since you didn't have a will and it sounds like your process was rather quick, that means that your siblings, you all didn't have any disputes. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, in our situation, no disputes, and the way that the paperwork was written up, and I didn't realize it, the way that the attorney had wrote up the paper. There's some probates where you have to do an inventory of things. You have to report it to the siblings. You have to report it to the courts.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess also my father's assets weren't that much. So I guess that's maybe the reason why I didn't have to report to the court. But I was kind of surprised that I didn't have to really report anything to the siblings. They read that paperwork, they signed that paperwork. That
Mm-hmm.
was up to them. But I kept records of everything that I spent myself every time I had to travel, anything I had to do for my father, because I
Mm-hmm.
didn't want anybody down the line to say I took something that didn't belong to me. You
Right.
know, um, kept my records. Then after it was over, I realized I really didn't have to, but for myself, I did it that way. I know in other situations, I've heard other families they going back and forth in court. They're still not selling the probate their parent or their loved ones things because they're fighting over the things.
Mm-hmm.
So now you got to go back to court. You paying lawyers and you're wasting time.
Mm-hmm. Wasting time.
Wasting time.
Wasting time and
Yeah,
paying bills.
paying bills, and then you fighting over something that you think is very valuable, and it's really not. You know,
Right.
your peace of mind is more valuable to me than any car, the dresser. You didn't
That's
really
right.
want the dresser. You just want to fight over a dresser.
That's right. It's not about the dresser.
Yeah.
it's it's something else.
Right.
So
Right.
true.
Yeah.
So true. Um, did you have any resources or any kind of support systems in place to help you?
Um. My support system was my mom. My mom. My mom was the rock. My mom kept me straight because my mom is my voice of reason. She kept me when I did want to give up. She's like, no, you got to take care of this business. I have two younger brothers who, for whatever reasons, weren't able to help me, but I know that this has to be done. So I had to put all that aside of what these people can or cannot do and do what I know that need to be done for my father. So at some point, you do have to put those things aside of what the sibling did or did not do. I'm doing this for my dad. So my mom kept me straight. My mom kept me focused. My mom traveled with me back and forth from, Tennessee to Georgia. My mom was on guard watching the house, so nobody squatted in the house. Nobody took anything from the house. If it wasn't for her, I'd probably been doing this by myself. So glad that she was there.
Awesome. And I met your beautiful mother. She was right there every time.
Yeah. And would not let me go to Georgia without her. Like it wasn't even a thought. And then, my dad, that's her ex-husband. They've been divorced for years, but when it's time, she's gonna ride too.
Right. Yes. That's a good point. Um, so looking back, is there anything that you wish you had known or done differently?
Um, I wish that I would have moved sooner with my realtor. I
Okay.
also wish I would have known that some of the things that I was doing, I didn't have to do. Some of those things were things that my realtor could have done for me, and she has
Mhm.
schooled me on that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. But
Yeah.
now I do know. And then as my realtor told me one day, you got to trust me with these keys.
Yeah. Yes.
And then that was it. So just taking things out of my hands and turning them over to other people who knew what they were doing, who are, as my job say, the subject matter experts.
Hmm.
Turn it over to them and let them do what they're supposed to do.
Yes.
So,
And I'll say this because you live in a different state, even though
mm-hmm,
I work, I sell all kind of real estate. I work with
mm-hmm,
buyers and sellers, but my niche
mm-hmm,
is probate. And so and not every real estate agent has that specific niche.
mm-hmm.
So um that's why I was like, Felicia, I got you. Let me do this for you.
Uh,
Even the day I met you, I remember you drove from Tennessee and I met you at your dad's house. And I remember us standing in the yard and I'm like, let's do it, but you weren't ready, emotionally,
yeah,
so that's a process for people because at the end of the day you would be releasing, your dad's house, and so that's
yeah,
real.
yeah,
So I'll say this, so anybody, if you're watching, I know sometimes real estate agents are watching my channel and they want to ask me, how to get into the probate market. You
mm-hmm,
have to realize, that people are grieving and they're going to move at their own pace. You can't force them. You can't be salesy. You got to give them time. And me being a woman of faith, I'm just like, hey, at that point, Felicia, believe it or not, and you probably know that because you know me for some months now, I'm just
mm-hmm,
praying for you. I'm like,
yeah,
Lord, whatever, she needs to do, help her in the process, whatever's going on in her family, help her. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, you were not ready.
Well, and then I want to also speak on that. You know, I have a good friend who's a real estate agent who sold me my house, a childhood friend. And
Mhm.
so when this happened, that's the first person I called. Like, what should I do? Like I said, I was gonna walk away and hey, let Mr. Cooper have their house, but she's like, no, you can't do that. You need to get with a real estate agent and get the house sold. So she found a real estate agent, and through me finding a probate attorney, I found a real estate agent.
Mhm.
I met with both of them.
Mhm.
The real estate agent that she found, that real estate agent not one time told me, which you told me, sorry for your loss.
Mhm.
You were the one who said, sorry for your loss.
Mhm.
The other person was wanting to sell the house. Let's sell it today. But I'm like, no, this is your business, but this is my dad and this is his
Right.
things.
Right.
So that made the difference for me.
Mm-hmm.
My friend, who's the real estate person, who is well versed, she didn't feel what I felt. This was more important to me. The
Mm-hmm.
person who said, sorry for your loss.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because when I sell a house, Felicia, people sell a house for different reasons.
Mhm.
People sell a house, and again, if you're a real estate agent, you're watching this. People sell a house. They may be getting a divorce. That matters.
Yeah.
They may be relocating, whatever the situation is. They may be downsizing. So that's good to know.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's talk about this estate sale. Listen, that day I met you at that house for the first time, ooh, your daddy had a lot
Stuff.
of stuff. And that was not even stuff because you had already moved some stuff.
Yes.
Let's talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yes. Yes. So my dad was a mechanic by trade. And so my dad had every tool that you can name. He had every engine car part that you can name.
Yes.
Um, and I didn't know what to do with any of it.
And wait,
I
and he had everyone that you can name, and he had about 10 of them, each
yes,
one. Yes.
yes. And they were all in his order. Now, if you asked him what something was, he could lay his hands on them. But if you went and looked, you'd be like, "Oh my God, what is this?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, I like I said, I so wished he had when he became ill had kind of got rid of some of these things or sold these things because he knew the value of these things. I had no clue. I know that they're valuable, but I don't know how to set a price to it. So that's it. We had to go through finding somebody who could. Um, with the first realtor, she even brought a person who walked around and told me that stuff was junk. I knew better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Have a nice
Mm-hmm.
day. So, a couple people we talked with, they didn't think it was feasible for them. They had to clear a certain amount of money, so we decided to do it ourselves. And Wanda and Derek did a wonderful job.
Yes.
Um,
It was
we
hard
had
work,
yeah,
but it had to be done. I tell
yeah,
people I can't sell a house till it's empty. So
yeah,
let's get it done.
yeah. And
Yes.
then from April to when we finally did it, I had been cleaning as much as I could in my Honda CRV, hauling stuff to the Goodwill. Or, some things had to be taken to the trash. Trying to give things away to people in the neighborhood, and also people in the neighborhood wanting to buy things from you. Pretty much want you to give it to them. Um, so it had to be done, and it had to be done in some type of organized way. Um,
Hmm.
it and as you told me, what I was thinking, like they'll buy that. Yeah, people will buy anything. If you set out a bucket of screws and say these screws are 5 cents each, somebody will buy them buckets of screws.
Right.
So
Yes.
um,
And
with
and I
go ahead.
know that at your estate sale, there was someone that actually purchased the flowers in the yard. And
Yes.
that was funny to me. The lady was walking around and she said, "Are those flowers for sale?" And I'm thinking, flowers? What flowers?
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and then also, I wasn't when I hear the word estate, I'm thinking of like big money antique items. Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
finding out that it's things like that. It could be your bed, it could be your dinner table.
Mm-hmm.
That an estate is what's left over after someone is gone. So
Mm-hmm.
those are things that you can sell. Um, didn't make like didn't get rich from it, but the funds were helpful to help pay the person to cut the grass, pay the
Yes.
person to haul things off, because you're gonna need funds for those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
Taking care of the grass while your house is on the market, you might have to paint something. You can use those funds for those things, um, which was very very helpful.
Yeah. I know the people that came to your estate sale. Um, those people, and I did not know this, there are people out there that all they do is go to state sales every weekend.
Yeah.
I mean, the state sale started at a certain time. There were people there an hour, hour and a half before waiting for the sale to start. I had no idea
Yeah.
that they professional buyers that go to estate sales every weekend,
Yeah. Yeah.
looking for a deal.
Yeah. And then that goes back to, if I could roll back, what would I do differently? Those things that I took to the Goodwill in the top of that house would have been part of that estate sale.
Yes, you could have made some money off
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Let's see. I I want to talk about the the wholesaler situation because when we put your house on the market, we had a buyer that came forth and um, they offered X amount. We negotiated, went under contract, and we later found out that this particular company is a wholesaler. And so, what was interesting to me is that me being a real estate agent, I've been licensed for 6 years, so I get a lot of emails. It was interesting to me, had never happened to me in my real estate career. I get an email from the wholesaler offering to sell your house when we were under contract. And I looked at the email and I thought, hold up, how can you offer to sell this house when we're under contract, but legally they can do it now because
Wow.
we're under contract. And as long as they meet those terms, we were going to close. But that was just amazing to me because a lot of times wholesalers and investors are targeting your type of property and your
Mm-hmm.
type of property being probate because a lot of times depending on the condition of the home, a traditional buyer may not buy it because the house is not moving and ready because your dad's house needed some work. So it was interesting to me that I'm saying this because those of you that are watching, you have to beware of the type of offers that you're going to get. And you need to hire a knowledgeable real estate agent because there are some people, Felicia, that wouldn't hire an agent. They would just, hey, I'm just going to sell it myself because I'm sure you can attest to you get mail after mail. People
Yeah.
saying, hey, um, can I buy your house? I want to buy your house. You know.
Yeah. And those investors or wholesalers, I knew that something, when I filed the paperwork with probate, although I hadn't heard back from the lawyer, I knew something was happening because I started getting phone calls and texts from people in Georgia. And I'm like, how did these people get my name and my number
Hmm.
with a house I have for sale? I didn't even know I had a house for sale. They knew I had a house for sale before I did. So you will get all these things in your mail, in your email, phone calls from people that I still like. How did they get my phone number? They know that you have a house and they are really like, they're predators. They prey upon people. They
Hmm.
know that your person has passed away. They know that you're not thinking straight. They know that there's probably a mortgage and you don't have the
Hmm.
money to pay a mortgage. And they'll do whatever to get your property.
Yeah.
Um,
I will say this that when your probate is filed, it's public record.
okay.
So they have a way, or because I'm able to do it too, we're able to access these records. So we know that
Okay.
it is, if it's a probate situation, that person may be in a position to sell it. So I will say this some people pray, but then pray, PREY,
REY.
prey
Yes.
upon people. I'm a woman of faith, so I have to make sure y'all know which kind of prey I'm talking about.
Right.
Um, some people do prey on them, and then there are some honest investors out there. So if you're watching this video, I do want you to know that if you do get it in the mail, you get 20. There may be some that are honest investors, but there are some that are going to, do the same thing they tried to do to you.
Yeah.
Um, give us one amount and then try to sell it for more. And me being a real estate agent, I'm thinking, oh no, I already know how much my client's house can be sold for. So we're not going to, take a necessarily a low ball offer. Some people are desperate, but you weren't desperate. Mm-mm. So,
Well, I wanted to get it done, but I knew I just didn't. My dad worked too hard for what he had for me to just give it away in that way.
right,
So,
right. So good.
yeah.
Yes. Um, let's talk about ways that people can declutter. Me personally, Felicia, I cleaned up one weekend, just maybe about 2 weekends ago. And I went to a little cabinet where I keep medicine. I had medicine in my cabinet, me, that was 10 years old. I looked at the dates and I was like, oh my God. So these are things, again, this is why I do videos like this, because we don't want to be in a position where when our loved ones pass away, that they're just cleaning up. We
Yeah,
we have to have a system in place where we are decluttering our homes on a regular basis.
I agree.
Hmm.
I agree. Because when you're gone, somebody has to. And you don't want that person to be, they're already upset about you and then try to figure out what are they going to do with your coffee pot collection or your whatever collection. Um, you want to inherit things that are a blessing and not a burden. So some
Hmm.
things are they're a burden on your people, and
Hmm.
I don't know what politically correct way to say that, but it's a
Hmm.
burden. You don't want your home to be a burden on the people that are left behind or your things. So uh, a lot of time I spent driving to Georgia. I use the Waze app, and the voice that I have on there, he always says, "Leave those things behind that no longer serve you." So each
Hmm.
time we had to come to that house, me and my mom kept saying that. But does this serve? Does this serve me? Or does
Hmm.
it serve does the person who used to live here? He's gone, so it certainly doesn't serve him. So if it
Hmm.
does no longer serves you, it is okay to throw that thing away, to give it
Wow.
away, or to donate it. It's okay to donate things. Somebody be glad to have it.
Mm. Yeah, donate it, give it away, or sell it. It's
Yeah,
there's so many sites. Facebook Marketplace, for those of you that are watching, that's a good place
yeah,
to go and sell items. We have got to declutter
yeah.
our lives. Is there anything else that you want to share, Felicia, before we close?
I just want to share just for the public, people who are going through this. Try to do things to educate yourself. Um, Try to if you're looking for a realtor, do the little things that you know to try to go online and make sure your realtor that you saw on Facebook is really a realtor. See if they have a license. You can even see what kind of house they sold. The same thing with your lawyer. You can go and make sure it's really a lawyer. Because
Mm-hmm.
in some of these things, people do meet up with wrong folks and, you know, take their houses, their properties. So there's a couple things as lay people you can do. But like as Wanda said, you also have to trust people. When you find a subject matter expert, trust the subject matter expert and let them do
Yes.
their job.
Yes.
Yep.
Awesome. And I will say this, as a real estate agent, if you're watching this, I'm able to serve you. Um, if you need an agent in Georgia, Florida, or Alabama. And I'm even able to refer you to an agent in other states because I partner with other agents. And I like to partner with people that I believe have the same level of integrity that I have, and the same work ethic. So if you're watching this and you need a real estate agent, and if you need a probate attorney, because I do know some great probate and estate planning attorneys. So I want to thank you, Felicia, for joining me today.
Thank
And
you.
before, I want to make sure I do this. I want to honor your dad's life, Mr. B. I won't give his name, but we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. And I'm thinking about this when the first one of the days when we were at the house and the people were removing. the stuff out of the top level of the house. We had been there a few hours, and um, I wasn't working. I was just there to really just open the door and supervise. But there were people stopping by that did not know that your father had passed away because they were used to not seeing activity at the house.
Mm-hmm.
And they
Mm-hmm.
saw, our cars there, and they saw people moving stuff out of the house. And so it was such a blessing to me because when they pulled up, they didn't know that Mr. B had passed away. And when I told them, they were like, oh, wow, I used to do this with him. I used to eat with him at the Waffle House. And I knew he was a mechanic, and we used to sit on his porch. And so that was such a blessing to me. And so we honor your dad's life. My prayers to you and your siblings and your mom during this new chapter. Uh, we have an inside joke. I won't share it, that we have a prayer request for you.
Yes,
now that
please.
your now that your father has passed away, I won't share it because it's personal, but my blessings and my prayers to you and your family, and
Thank
just
you.
thank you for allowing me to serve you.
Thank you. Thank you. And like you said, you honored my father throughout this whole deal. And you were patient with his daughter, and he appreciates it.
Awesome. All right. Thank you everyone for watching. My name is Wanda Rochelle, and we are here today. We talked about managing a probate process from another state. And so it's my prayer that you were blessed.